Stop playing with us. Hey, all that DEI goofiness you talking about, man, stop playing us. Give us our props. Stop messing with our history. The more you erase, the more we replace. I don't get why they so mad at us. Somebody said, why I gotta be black excellence? Why not? Why not? Why can't I show these young black kids, girls, and guys a different side? Perception is everything. Showing these kids a different perception. How great is that? You know what's crazy? When Barack Obama became president, people were like, policy. I said, oh, whatever. You know what he did for me? He changed my perception. Because when I would travel the world had a certain perception of me as a black man. But when they saw, and if there's any indication that America is not the most incredible country in the world, and he came up in there with that suit, fly, you feel me? I felt good, and everybody felt good because they love what we do. I know y'all out there bullshitting right now, but y'all love us. Y'all love our music, and if y'all talking about DEI, then give some of our stuff back, like our R&B. Stop playing with us. Stop singing like us. Stop dancing like us. Give us our shit back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Even the racist wins when black people succeed going forward because GDP rises. We're having the wrong argument. In fact, we're arguing. There's no need to argue. There's not enough college-educated, successful white men to drive GDP. Unless you want to speak another language, we better figure out in the next 5 or 10 years that we're better together. Black people, you better be obsessed with education. It's not about love or hate anymore like in Dr. King's day. Today it's radical indifference. No one cares enough about you anymore to hate you. Private security, private roads, private families, private education, private transportation, private schools. You can go on and on and on. They've just separated themselves and said, yeah, y'all do as you like. You want to tear up your communities? You want to tear up your own lives? Knock yourselves out. You want to be like Cam? You want to be like me? Understand that 3,000 years before marriage was spiritual and God endowed it with spirituality, marriage was a business. When the breasts drop and the rear end drops and the looks go away, that's your business partner for life. Eagles don't fly in packs. You've never seen a flock of eagles. Buzzards love packs. Buzzards are low altitude birds. In fact, buzzards are insecure, so buzzards are always shooting at eagles. They have high confidence and low self-esteem. But a turkey is the worst kind of bird because the turkey's got wings and can't fly. My second great-grandmother was a slave. My grandmother owned a shotgun shack in East St. Louis, taking care of her children. My mother owned 7 homes. I own 700. I'm not a genius. I'm just role modeling, and I know my history. You know, you get a kid a bank account in kindergarten with $100 in it, it's 75% more likely to graduate from college.
Have you ever noticed that if you look at pictures of black men, they never smile? They never do. Like, you look at pictures of us over time, everybody you see who's a star, Magic Johnson, what they say about him? He had a smile that lit up the room, right? Right. He was a killer. He was an athlete. That smile, it isn't that that smile opened doors for him because he knew how to seem warm and approachable. A smile doesn't work where we come from, but you need it outside of where we come from. So you know how to dress for success. You have to know how to be affable and approachable for success too. Like, people don't want that. I've known some of the greatest, and you know what I'm talking about, some of the greatest comics I've ever seen, and people didn't like to work with them because they were not accessible. And I'm not talking about letting somebody run over you, but I'm talking about being able to look like I can come up to you and say something to you and have a conversation with you that doesn't become something else. Not just dressing for success, you have to learn how to look like you're ready to be. The one thing about women in the corporate environment, they know how to adapt to that environment. We have to learn that too.
You know what?
White people are panicking because of what we call the black excellence. This is something that they can't fathom to understand. How come black people, despite all the challenges that they are going through, they're still making it? According to them, they expect black people to keep on begging for handouts. They expect black people to keep doing all wrong things, stereotypically that were meant for black people. But black people are saying no. We have black people that are thriving in different sectors that they are having, and they are showing them that, you know what, you tried to suppress us for the past time, but this time around, you cannot put a black man down. Black people are making history, black people are making records, and they are defying all the odds. Imagine 500 years of slavery, 500 years of hardship, but still, we are in the 21st century. but black people are rocking it like nothing else. You ask yourself, why is it that black excellence makes white people panic? Why is it that they don't want to see black people occupying all those spaces that they predominantly thought are only white spaces? Brothers and sisters, buckle up for this video today as we are going to have this discussion. And I believe that it's imperative for us to always bring about and think about the black excellence, because there's a black person somewhere who doesn't think great about himself, who doesn't think great about his race, because it was lied to that black people never did anything great in the American history. And so today, black people are standing and they are defying the odds. They are defying every challenge and they are rewriting their own history, doing the greatest of things and doing it in front of everyone in the broad daylight. Black people are winning. And I think this is the time to prove to the world that what white people wrote about the black history was all a lie, because we are seeing black people standing up, claiming their power and utilizing every resources they have to make themselves successful. Brothers and sisters, buckle up for this video. I'm your number one host and presenter, Agent Stories. And if you're watching me for the first time, I'm asking you to please subscribe to the channel, join the membership, and really get to see what I can offer you. For those who are always supporting me through different forms, it could be my Cash App, liking, subscribing, sharing. I'm really grateful, because you're the most important person that I have to hear, so that we can all study, learn, and get to understand all these concepts. So brothers and sisters, I don't want to say much. I'm just going to let the video play and then I'll be back. Then we'll be having a discussion in regards to this. So let's get into it. I'll be back.
They don't tell us that some of the sharpest minds of the civil rights era weren't marching in front of the camera. They were building bridges behind the scenes. They were connecting black struggles here with independence movements in Africa, exposing America's hypocrisy at the height of the Cold War. Meet Alpheus Hunton. Born in Atlanta in 1903, raised in New York. He wasn't just an academic. He taught English at Howard University. And while other professors stayed safe, Hunton was bold enough to tell his students, "Your freedom is tied to Africa's freedom." He worked with the Council on African American Affairs alongside Paul Robeson and W.E.B. Du Bois, organizations the government tried to smear as communist fronts because they dared to support African liberation movements while Jim Crow was still running this country. He wrote constantly, pushing out pamphlets, reports, essays, laying bare how colonialism abroad and racism at home were two sides of the same coin. In 1941, when the Council on African Affairs was thriving, Hunton became its education director. But by the 1950s, the FBI had him under constant watch. He was jailed for refusing to hand over records. He lost his Howard job. His reputation was trashed. And still, he kept organizing, kept writing, kept teaching black people that our fight wasn't just about buses and lunch counters. It was global. Hunton eventually left the U.S., working in Ghana and later Zambia, spending his last year supporting African independence on the ground. Think about that. A black professor, stripped of his career in America, finding refuge in Africa because this country couldn't stomach his truth. So no, the civil rights movement wasn't just about integration. He taught us that the struggle was bigger than borders. And that's exactly why they tried to erase him. Say his name, Alpheus Hunton.
White people need to learn how to challenge authority instead of challenging minorities. Okay? Now wait, listen. White people have this innate need every time there's a black person, Latino person, Arab person, person of color who says something that they either disagree with or feel like they disagree with or feel like they are the anomaly outside of that group of things that the person of color is talking about. They're just like, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. Or what about this? Or what about me? Or how about this? But I'm just like, y'all have all this energy towards a minority who says something that you don't like, but when it comes to an authority figure that you don't like and they say something wrong, well, it's just like, oh, it's fine, or oh, they didn't mean it, or oh, I'm sure they were saying something else, or oh, just ignore that altogether, or oh, I have no power to change that, or oh, I don't know. It's just like, what do you, it's just like all these, y'all get every excuse in the book for an authority figure. But when it comes to a minority, you're listen, don't take this wrong, but like this is why the word Karen came to be. It was birthed out of white people, white women specifically, feeling like they need to exert their authority over people of color. And that's what it is. It's like, I feel like white people, they have, and I heard this from White Woman Whisperer, she was talking about how white people have authority, like they always feel like they're the father to the father or an authority figure to the authority figure, and they feel like inherently in their hearts that they are an authority figure to people of color. And so they feel like they have this divine right to correct people of color whenever they feel like a person of color is wrong or needs correcting. But they feel like because there's always this hierarchy in life, that whenever someone that they deem as above them, their parents or their grandparents or the police or the government or God, that is telling them to do something that they don't believe in, or that they do something that they think is wrong, they still have to do it because they cannot challenge authority. And that's why they also get so upset when people of color push back on them, because inside of them, they see that as someone who is in a position of less authority pushing back on them, the authority. Are y'all listening? White people, y'all don't know it, but you have this inherent feeling inside of you that you are a authority figure to people of color. Like, that has been ingrained in you all since the reception of the United States of America, is that white people are the authority over people of color. Like, that y'all have always been placed on top, and from a political, financial, economic, like social standpoint, you all have always been placed literally legally given the authority over people of color. And that culture has never went away. It has went away on paper, mostly, kinda, but in practice and in reality, it never went away. And so a lot of you have in your minds, even though you don't know you have it in your minds, but you have it in your minds that what you think and what you feel and what you have to say is more important or more authoritative than the person of color who is speaking, because you are. Because you do, because it is. Like, whatever you have to say, you just genuinely with all your heart feel like it is more important or more legitimate than a person of color. And that, I'm not gonna lie, pisses me off. It pisses me off because, like, I talk about racism a lot on the page, and so the amount of white people who come into my page, especially this, I'm never gonna forget this post I made about blonde hair being racist, and every single white woman in all of America came into my page to tell me I'm wrong. And I'm just like, how can you as a white person tell me, as a black person who has studied history, studied racism, studied socialism, studied public health, studied population, studied all these things through the lens of racism, how are you gonna come and tell me that I am wrong about racism? Someone who has experienced racism, a black woman who has experienced racism on many occasions in her life, overtly, covertly, and any other kind of way, you're gonna tell me you know more about racism than me. And so, and the excuse is that they feel like I don't know about what they like. Like, you're just like, oh, I like blonde hair because blonde hair is, I just prefer that. I just prefer my hair lighter. And it's just like, but when I ask them, why do you prefer that? Where did that belief that blonde hair is more pretty or more beautiful, where did that belief come from? They're just like, it just is. You don't question your thoughts. You don't question your beliefs. Don't question where a preference came from. You're thinking too deep. Now you're too woke. Now you're too woke. Now I'm the woke friend. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna just leave that there. I'm a little traumatized from that post, I'm not gonna lie. But that is what it is white people love challenging minorities, but they cannot for the life of them challenge authority. Think about it.
Child, I was on TikTok the other day, y'all, and I can't even remember the post. But baby, I went to those comments. Y'all gotta go to the comments. Sometimes it don't all the way be that post. It be the comments. So fast forward, I go down in the comments, and this person said, she just knows in her heart of hearts that black success, black excellence is a direct pipeline to white racism. And baby, I had to pause. Because y'all know it's true. Because nothing, and I mean nothing, pisses racist white folks off more than black success. Baby, you can set your watch by it. The moment a black person shines, here they come. And baby, they be big mad. Look around. Shador Sanders, drag. Jasmine Crockett, attack. Stacey Abrams undermined Barack and Michelle Obama. Baby, they been long gone and they still catching hate over being overqualified. Meanwhile, Donnie and them ran up in the White House with resumes of a used car salesman. Baby, nepotism at its best. Underqualified ain't even a word. But when it's us, baby, they gonna twist that story, twist that narrative, and tie themselves in knots trying to convince the world that we don't belong. And why though? Because deep down inside, they know, baby, they could never. We've done more with less. We thrive in a system that is built for our demise. And baby, they could never. That's why their brain short circuits with rage. That's why their comments overflow with vitriol. And honestly, y'all, I love that for us. I do. Because every time that rage gets out of hand is proof that our excellence is undeniable. So happy Black History 365, y'all. Keep shining, keep winning. Because our success will always expose their mediocrity. See y'all next time.
As white people, is our deepest fear that we are inadequate? Or is our deepest fear that Black excellence is powerful beyond measure? It is their light, not their darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who are they to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are they not to be? Look honestly, and you will see how they demonstrate love as a reflection of our unwarranted hate. Our playing God does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about positioning ourselves and controlling the narrative so that Black and brown folks feel insecure around us. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory of the Spirit that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in all of us, no matter what your skin tone is. And as we let our own light shine, by atoning for and repairing the harm of our ways, as we learn to serve and see the true greatness of Aboriginal and Indigenous cultures and human beings around us, we unconsciously give white people around the planet the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. From this point, we can build a new world that is connected to the planet and each other. Together, humanity is achievable.
Why do white people resent Black excellence? Let's talk about it. Not all white people are racist, obviously, but there is a specific subset for whom Black excellence seems like a personal affront to them, right? It really bothers them when Black people succeed. The 13th Amendment emancipated enslaved Black Americans in 1865, and then the Jim Crow laws kind of wrapped up with the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So if we do the math, that's about 61 years in which Black Americans were able to strive for success in any sort of meaningful way without like the constraints of the law pulling them down. 61 years. If we compare that to white Americans who besieged a land already owned and occupied by Indigenous Americans, we'll put that around 1620 when, the Mayflower came here, then that gives them about 425 years to establish success in this country. 425 versus 61. If we compare those two fundamentally very different time spans, like, how much did white Americans actually do in all that time? If we are to compare even the poorest and most underprivileged of white America to Black America generally, it is clear that white Americans are born way past the start line, right? By that I mean, by nature of being white in American society, you do benefit from all sorts of privileges. And to be frank, you're not exhausted by the horrible experience of facing racism on a daily basis, right? You do have a ton of privileges. So I imagine existing in this bubble of privilege that you totally deny deny. The existence of Black people for whom success is like second nature, when it comes so easily and so readily, even though you've only had 61 years to achieve it, I imagine that's exhausting and frustrating. I imagine it makes people feel super, super inferior and hurts certain people's tiny, tiny little egos. And what do they blame that deep, deep psychic pain on? Well, of course, DEI and critical race theory and affirmative action. So I guess the question is, what might help those white Americans who just so strongly detest Black excellence? Like, what will help you? And for that, I would suggest like a lot of therapy, like a ton of therapy. And I would also just suggest that we open the schools, right? We teach people history. Yeah, maybe? Okay, bye.
And they can't stand to see people getting their value from within. Like, you know how many white people have asked why are like, they've literally, I've seen it in the comments, I've seen it in videos of white people saying, Black people, like, how do you get your joy? Like, how are you so happy? Like, why, like we know that we've oppressed you for all this time. How do you still stand up and smile and dance? Like, they want us, and that's not to say that they want us to, well, some of them certainly want us to, like, not be happy. But even the ones who do not actively try to make sure we're not happy, they feel like we should be unhappy. And so they ask, why are you so happy? And that's because they themselves have been trained and brought up to think that their happiness comes from external validation. Y'all, that is what it is. Because white culture, white American culture is very consumerist. It is very, you get your value from having the biggest house. You get your value from having the hottest husband and the prettiest woman. You get your value from having the most, the highest paying job. You get your value from having the highest net worth. That is literally how a lot of white Americans define their values. If I have this external indicator that everyone else can see that says I am worthy, the higher that number on the stock ticker for them, that is the higher their value. And and when that is where your value comes from, you will always look at people who are poor or people who have no money and be like, why are you smiling? And it's just like, because my value does not come from some artificial number on a board that someone else made up. Like, what? That is crazy. But another thing is when you have the mentality of my value comes from things outside of me, you have the mentality that everyone else has that same mentality. And so so then it becomes a whole lot of projection. It becomes a whole lot of projection of like, I would be insecure if I were in your place, so why aren't you insecure? Like, it's just like, so the projection starts, and it's like, and that makes them mad as well, because they just expect you to think like them, and it's like, absolutely not. Hustle culture is one of the external validation traps. It sure is. It sure is. It sure is. And that goes into, y'all don't let me get on my history bucks. Because the Black Panthers, y'all, they were very anti-capitalism, very communist, pro everyone working.
For all women, for Black women, for dark-skinned Black women who have so long been told that we are not women, that we are not feminine, that we are not vulnerable, that we do not matter, that I'm presenting you this award with the passion in knowing, the thankfulness in knowing that you made us be seen.
So stitch this and tell me something that white people aren't ready to hear.
We white women have an inferiority complex. The Negro women have a sort of reputation for being so beautiful. We're a little jealous of them.
I guess you just envy us colored people.
That Black women were there to support me and to advise me, but not to rise above or become better than me. And that's why when this Black teacher was way better and more talented than me, I felt some kind of way about it. Now, I'd imagine lots and lots more white women have also internalized the same idea, and that's why they feel okay stealing Black women's content and not giving them any credit, because the Black women are just there to advise them anyway. But most Black women are natural leaders.
We're jealous. I think we're jealous because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire life.
Let me tell you something. I know whenever I step out of the house, them racist white people get mad. And guess what? I don't care. Okay? One thing about me, I'm black and I'm proud and I'm loud about it. So let's do an OOTD, okay? Hoodie. I love being a black woman. From blackwomensLivesMatter.com. Purse. Protect black people from size. Fist up earrings. Yes. Mama Africa earrings. Matching necklaces. My brand, Chantal J. Okay, link in bio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you watch me from. The panic that white society often exhibits in response to black excellence is not a spontaneous emotional reaction. It is the product of centuries of old social, economic, and psychological systems designed to maintain the white dominance. Remember, United States is a country where whiteness was historically constructed as the default standard of intelligence, leadership, culture, beauty. Black achievements disrupts the foundation of this racial hierarchy. When we get to look back when enslaved Africans demonstrated their extraordinary talents, skills, and creativity despite conditions of dehumanization, black excellence became a threat, not because it was rare, but because it exposed the lie that white superiority was natural. Thus, white panic is an instinct self-preservation, the preservation of a system where whiteness guarantees status, power, and authority. Brothers and sisters, historically, the success of black people challenged the ideological justification of slavery and segregation. If black people were as capable as whites, the entire racial logic behind oppression would collapse. That is why laws were created to prohibit literacy among enslaved Africans and undermine black political success through violence and sabotage. Remember the Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wall Street? Right? Wellington, North Carolina? All these prosperous black communities were destroyed precisely because they proved the capability and the brilliance of black people. These events were not about individual resentment. They were attempts to prevent black excellence from discrediting a racial order that relied on myths about black authority. Black inferiority. And psychologically, black excellence produces cognitive dissonance in many white people. I'm going to be discussing this. They have been socialized to believe that black people are intellectually or morally inferior. When faced with black achievement, whether in science, whether in business or art or politics, they experience a contradiction between what they were taught and what the reality shows. Instead of welcoming this truth, many resolve the discomfort by discrediting black success, accusing black achievers of getting unfair advantages, or claiming affirmative action is the only reason for their accomplishment. And the goal here is to protect the ego structure of whiteness. As scholars have noted, racism is not merely about hatred. It is a psychological defense. It is a psychological defense system that preserves the illusion of inherent white superiority. Also, as I continue, the panic in white folks also arises from resource anxiety. In society with finite opportunities and wealth, excellence by marginalized group can appear to threaten the privileges of the dominant group. White success has long been tied to exclusion, keeping black people out of elite schools, neighborhoods, professions, and industries. When black individuals break through these barriers and excel, it forces white people to compete on equal terms, to eliminate the structural advantage they once enjoyed. The fear is not simply economic, it is existential. If black people can achieve greatness without privilege, what does they say about those who depend on this privilege? Right? So politically, Black excellence also signals empowerment, something white supremacy finds intolerable. A successful black leader, thinker, or entrepreneur represents independence from systems of white control. Remember that for centuries, the greatest fear of white elites was not black failure, but black autonomy. The slave revolt, the self-sustaining black town, the educated black voter, all represented the possibility that black people could reshape society on their own terms. This is why black leaders from Martin Luther King Jr. to Malcolm X to Fred Hampton were not feared because they failed, but because they succeeded in mobilizing thought, organization, and resistance. Excellence threatens domination because it inspires others. And culturally, right, black excellence disrupts the idea that white norms are universal, whether in music, whether in fashion, language, art, or black creativity, has consistently reshaped the global culture. White panic emerges when the cultural authority of whiteness is challenged. Black influence shows that the world's imagination extends beyond European traditions, forcing a reevaluation of what counts as high culture. This is why many black art forms were initially mocked, criminalized, or dismissed until commodification by white industries. The panic is rooted in the recognition of cultural power can shift away from whiteness. Also, from a social standpoint, what many call panic is actually the defense reflex of dominant group sensing loss of control. Whiteness depends on maintaining social distance, boundary policing, and narrative dominance. The visibility of black excellence collapses those boundaries, making it harder to justify racial inequality. When black people excel, whiteness loses its ability to define itself through contrast. Without black inferiority, the meaning of white identity becomes unstable. This is why even symbolic black success like black president, a Nobel laureate, or business magnate can trigger intense backlash. These are not isolated emotion reactions. They are structural responses to perceived threats to racial hierarchy. So this all proves all these fears that we are talking about. And I think it's important that you understand as a black person that black people are winning. Despite all the challenges that are going on today, you get to understand. And in reality, you realize that black people are winning. And it's not just going to be stopping at that. Black people are still going to do great. And this is a message to any person who is watching me thinking that black people have never done anything great in this society, right? We have black people that have done one of the greatest things in this society. So the world can look up to. So brothers and sisters, again, I'm your host and presenter, Unique Stories. I want to say thank you for taking your time and watching this video, listening to my commentary and all that is happening. So until then, I'm hoping to see you on my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.